Hey guys, I'm back. It's Eric and you're on S Motorsports. Today we're working on the Camaro. So today, I got an install for you. We're going to be installing a gauge pod from SMG Speed. I picked up, it's basically just a 3D printed vent gauge pod. Now, I'm going to be honest, it's not the cheapest thing ever by the time you order it and ship it. I could have probably made one myself with some time and 3D printed it, because there's lots of spots you can do that online. And I did that with the Trans Am radio cluster or panel, cover panel. And but I mean, I just kind of wanted to get it installed. So what I'm going to be doing in it is installing my wideband gauge into the vent. So I'll show you here. So as you can see, right now I just have the wideband gauge stuck up on this other super cheap gauge pod, and it's to the windshield, and obviously cables running down. My plan was to just take this out after I was done with the tuning and everything, but I don't know, it's kind of nice having it there, and if I ever do need to come back and just like check how the air fuel ratio is doing, the wideband is already in the exhaust, so my thought is, this is kind of a good spot. It'll kind of clean up all the wires, obviously, and just keep it in there. If I ever don't want it, I can easily remove it, but this should be a pretty easy and straightforward install. Okay, first off, I just got to get this gauge pod off the windshield. So I use some pretty strong tape. So this is probably not going to come off very easy. There we go. All right, so I got the wiring disconnected. I got the gauge pod removed. So now my next step is to pop this off so I can get the vent out, get that installed, and then run the wiring down through here. I'll tie everything up, and I'm going to power this from the engine compartment fuse box. All right, the next step is we just got to pull this guy off. This should pop right off. Supposedly. Big tool. There we go. It's just hard to get your fingers behind it starting. There we go. All right, we got the vent out. It was just held in by two little tangs right here. You just popped one out and then it just popped right out. It was pretty easy. So now we got to get this guy out and replace it with this guy. So the hardest part, everyone says, is getting this off. So I'll set up the camera and see how hard it is, I guess. Now this guy should just come right out. You gotta twist it. There. There's little tangs in there. You had to orientate it just right so you could get it to spin. There. Almost, I think it cracked it a little bit taking it out. I mean, it's still good. But as you can see, there's like tangs in the back here that prevent it from turning. So this new one should slip in. It's push it in like this. That goes in a lot easier. So, kind of loose. I don't know if you can see that. I feel like that's gonna spin. All right guys, so what I did was I had some hook and loop tape. So I just took part of the soft felt stuff and put an extra piece, just one piece in there. And you know, this is, I don't know, it's you know, not super thick, but it has a little bit of thickness to it. And what that did, that just tightened it up. So I can turn it a little bit. It's pretty tight now, but that's okay. I can still turn it if need be, because most of the time, you know, the gauge is gonna be straight anyways, or you're gonna set it once and you're not gonna move it. So that worked really good. Okay, now I'm gonna put the trim ring back on, and I did mark it. This is the top, and I did mark this guy as well with a little black Sharpie to make sure I line these up correctly and got it put in on the right spot. There. All right, that's how it looks now. It's kind of hard to see, but should work pretty good. Let's just pop the gauge in there for reference. So this gauge, it's got a very small lip on it, and there's really nothing to hold it in. So I think what I'm gonna do is just put a tiny bit of RTV, black RTV, so you don't see it around the edge. So it kind of glues almost to this lip where it's still removable. It does have a nice tight fit in there, so that's good. So it won't just pop out, as you can see, but just to make sure it doesn't rattle out really is what it's for. So I don't know, that looks pretty good. You can kind of see if you can see the daylight through it. I still will get airflow, but not a lot, which is fine. It's probably more than I would normally have it set at anyways, so we'll give it a try though. All right guys, so I just took the wires I had running up here and just routed, there's a giant hole right here, just routed them up through. And what I did was stick them in the vent there, and I'm just gonna have them ducking underneath where these two meet up. And so I got the wires pulled up through, so I'm just gonna click this into place now first. And it kind of only goes in on one spot. So got the wires ran up through. Let's turn some light on. So then these guys will just kind of get forced into that vent. So it'll probably just deform the vent a little bit, but that's okay. And it's probably not gonna go in super perfect because now those wires are in the way. Feels like it's in there. All right, now we'll test fit the gauge, see how that looks like. We'll just plug them in for now. All right guys, so I wanna show you the final install. Got everything wired up and zip tied up. So what I did is I just ran a black wire so it kind of blended in, but I ran it out of the same grommet hole that the wideband stuff is coming out of, which I previously had run. So I ran that along the back, zip tied it up along here, which, you know, you really can't see it at all. It kind of shoots down in between here, comes underneath, and then comes up the back. And what I did is I just drilled a little tiny hole in this guy. And what that does is then I just kind of curled it up in there, and I have it going to this 20 amp recreational ignition fuse. It was, looks like it was spot 40. Spot 40. That seemed to work good. Only comes on with ignition. Got the wire routed up in there, and you know, it's a tiny hole and it's a nice seal. So you can't see anything in there. That looks really clean. You can see the gauge installed, and nothing underneath. Got everything tucked up away real nice. You can't see it. And I just zip tied up everything real nice and tight to the wire harnesses so you don't hit it with your foot. So this is the view in the car. I think it turned out pretty good. So it turns on, it heats up, and then obviously the car's not running, so it won't, you know, give me any air fuel ratio, but, or lambda I should say. But yeah, no, it's a good spot. It looks like it's working. That'll be nice just to have it permanently installed. I wasn't going to originally, but you know, that's a pretty clean look right there. So I'm happy with that. All right, guys, well, that's it for today. Hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to the channel. All right, till next time. Thanks, guys.